and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
So I got a call that said, this is Susan Bailey. And I said, yeah, but I'm sorry, I don't know a Susan Bailey. She goes, I'm Henry Aaron's secretary. And I went, yeah. She goes, Henry would like to talk to you. I said, yeah, okay. And he said, how would you like to fly down to Sarasota and look at our pictures? And I said, I would love to. He said, well, when can you do it? Jokingly, I said, tomorrow. He goes, okay, we'll take care of that. I'll meet you at the airport in Atlanta. Susan will have the arrangements. And then I get on a plane with Hank Aaron and fly down to Sarasota. He offers me a job, and I said, well, what team do you want me to manage? He goes, no, he wants you to be a pitching coach.
Hi, this is Phil Necro. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Most guys throw it this way. Put the ball back in here, hands come around, and these two fingers come into the ball, and stiff wristed, no follow throw, and just a little up and goes in the bat. I hope there's no rotation on. The ball comes in there and doesn't bother. It doesn't never do the same thing twice.
This is Kyle Wright, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
One of my favorite moments for your career as of right now is actually this past week. It was a show of confidence by Brian Snicker. He left you in the game after bases were loaded. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it was really cool. I went back and I saw that clip on Instagram several times. I'll be honest, I watched it numerous times. Kind of gave me chills a little bit. It was just really cool. I was kind of lost my command a little bit there. Still made some good pitches, but was definitely getting a little tired. So whenever he said basically left me in the game, I felt like that kind of gave me what I needed to get me over the hump to make a good pitch, get a ground ball back to me, and get out of that inning.
This is Matt Olson. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond. Yeah, it's a pretty cool experience. Not everybody gets this opportunity to kind of set up their roots and be somewhere long term that they grew up and have family and friends. So it happened pretty quick there in spring training, and it was just an opportunity that my wife and I and my family thought that we couldn't pass up, so just jumped on it, and it's been a blast.
Says, Chief, why don't you race Ralph Garr? I said, okay. Said, Ralph Garr wants to race you too. So we started on the first base line on the outfield line. We started, bam, took off running. I beat him by 3 foot.
Mike Bolton-Everett here. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
I'm Kelsey Wingert, and you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hey, this is Andrew Jones. You're watching On Deck with Tyler.
Baseball fans, you're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome into On Deck as always. Thank you guys so much for checking out the channel. While you're here, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck, and of course with your Atlanta Braves, who have carried their win streak to not 5 games but now 6. Of course, with the sweep over the Mets and now a victory over the Washington Nationals in the first game of the series. They do host the Nationals in this series, and boy, this one was a much different case than yesterday. Of course, yesterday there was a total of 23 runs scored. Today there was a total of 5 runs scored. So a little bit different taste in terms of just how the game went. And in terms of what the offenses were able to do. But the important thing is that the Braves walked away with a win. So let's talk about this one. Appreciate you guys tuning in again. We're going to get into what you guys want to talk about in a few minutes. But I do want to just highlight some of the things tonight that I noticed and some of the things that you might have taken away as well. Number one being A.J. Smith Shawver. This was his Major League debut as a starter. This is his first start as a Major Leaguer. And you know what? It wasn't overly spectacular. It's not like it was, something that is going to tell me that in the future we're going to be able to say, like, for sure, this is the guy. But this was a very good performance by a guy who's never been on a Major League mound. You can tell me it's the Nationals, I get all that, but for him to be able to go through 5 1/3 innings and only give up 3 hits and get 2 strikeouts, I'll take that any day of the week. He kept the game game at bay. He didn't let it get out of control, which as a rookie, that is a good sign. And being that he's coming out of the minors, we didn't know much about him. We saw him last week in the bullpen, and he looked great. This is the first time we've really seen what he can do as a starter. This is my takeaway on it. He pitched well enough to earn himself another spot start, another opportunity as a starter. He's not going to get sent down by any means. And what I would also say is he's only going to get better, right? So that's what I want you to take away. I thought he did very well. Carrying on from there, the Nationals were able to score 2 runs, one in the first off of a Garcia hit, and then one in the 6th on a Meneses double. Of course, that's going to happen occasionally, but the important thing I thought really was that the bullpen was able to go scoreless through the 7th, 8th, and 9th. Again, back-to-back nights where the bullpen doesn't let it get out of hand, doesn't let those late inning runs happen, because that's what's kind of been the Achilles heel early on in the season for the Braves. There's been a few games that I thought we should have won, and the bullpen kind of gave it up there at the end. So that, I think, is a good sign. Again, I know this is the Washington Nationals, but it's not like we were using all of our best relievers in these moments either. We used a guy in Kirby Yates who could be a very good reliever, but hasn't quite found it yet. He did pitch well tonight, 1 inning scoreless with 2 strikeouts. That's kind of what you want to see. And right now the Braves are keeping him in these low leverage situations. At the time, we were still down by 1 going into that inning, I believe. Yeah, going into that inning, we were still down by 1, and we were able to get 2 at the bottom of the inning. So it's low leverage. It's, hey Kirby, if you can go scoreless through this, we really have a chance in the next 2 innings to win this ball game, and he was able to. So it's good. Hopefully he can kind of either in his head or physically or whatever the case may be, take this as a stepping stone and be able to be a guy that we can count on in the 8th inning, because that's what we signed him for. If you don't remember, if you're a new fan or you're just unaware of who Kirby Yates is, a few years ago with the Padres, Kirby Yates was unstoppable until an injury sidelined him, and then now he's still kind of coming out of that. Hopefully we can see him continue to do this and continue to eventually become the reliever that he once was, or maybe even better. Iglesias comes in, does the exact same thing as Kirby Yates did. 1 inning pitch, 2 strikeouts, and that's what we expect out of Iglesias, I think, at this point, especially against an offense like the Nationals have currently. And look, there wasn't a lot of runs scored tonight. I know a lot of people are going to point their finger at that. But I do think there are some things we can take into account. A lot of people for years now have complained that the Braves don't play small ball. Tonight, you had plenty of it. Tonight was small ball. And yes, it was against the Nationals. Yes, the Braves should kill the Nationals in theory, but in baseball, it doesn't always go that way. If you're asking me, 23 runs shouldn't be scored in a game where Spencer Strider and Justin Verlander are starting, but somehow that's what happens, right? My point that I'm going with is sometimes you have to find a run where you can get it. The Braves were able to do it. On 2 groundouts, they got runs tonight. Arcia grounded out to a shortstop. Albies scored, and Ozuna grounded out to first, and Hilliard scored rather, and then Arcia reached on an infield single. It doesn't get much more small ball than that. So the Braves were able to take the win tonight. That's what's important. They were able to beat the Nationals, put them a little further down in the standings. The Mets, got to talk about the Mets, right? Out of the series with the Braves, they lose 14-7 against the Pirates tonight, and the Marlins actually just lost to the Chicago White Sox. A walk-off finish. The Marlins do lose, and let's check out the standings after that. The Marlins are now 4 games back. The Phillies are 8 games back. The Mets are 9.5 games back, and the Nationals are 13.5. So it's the Braves are looking good right now. We talked last night for quite a while just about everything going on in terms of the NL East, because I think everybody kind of tends to talk about the Mets. The reason I say this is the Mets are in 4th place. They're 9.5 games back. They're not the team that you really need to be focused on now. Now, that being said, they very well could be. Remember, it was about this time last year that the Braves were coming out of that 10.5 game deficit in the NL East. So it's not like the Mets couldn't potentially come back and turn it around. We've seen it happen before with the Braves, but the Braves are on a really good pace right now. And they've been able to keep that pace again without some of their star pitching in Max Fried and Kyle Wright. And if you're wondering what kind of pace they're really at, they're on pace for, I did the math just a few minutes ago, they're on pace for 100.3 wins. So we'll just round that out. They're on pace for 100 wins even. So that's where they're at if they continue to win, which I believe they will over these next few weeks, because right now you're playing the Nationals. You have another 2 games against the Nationals that you could potentially win, being that tomorrow you have Jared Schuster on the mound, and in the finale you'll have Bryce Elder. I'll take my chances with Bryce Elder, and I think Jared Schuster has proven that he can put the Nationals away. Again, we'll see. Nationals can win any given day too, but we'll see. I think the Braves have a really good chance to go on a good stretch here. After the Nationals, they do face the Tigers, and the Tigers are actually having a fairly decent year, comparable to what they've been doing in previous years. They are not anywhere near the first place in their division. They're in 4th place, similar to the Mets, but they're only 4.5 games out, 26-35. That AL Central, who knows where it's going to be at the end of the year. But the Tigers are not the Tigers of old. I do want you to realize that. We're about to start a series with them. I do think the Braves should expect to come in and win, but they're not a pushover, right? And like the Nationals, they're not pushovers. You have to come in and execute. The Braves were able to do that tonight, but they're going to have to do it for the next few games, because this is the stretch. These next 10 games or so is a stretch where I think the Braves could really get that lead stretched out in the NL East, because, again, Nationals, you have 2 more games with them, you have 3 games with the Tigers, and then you have 4 games with Colorado Rockies. Now, the Rockies are bottom of the totem pole right now. They're in last place. They're 12.5 back in the NL West. They are out of it in terms of competing. Now, does that mean that the Braves are just going to come in and dominate? Who knows? What I'm saying is, when you look at the schedule, this is a stretch of time where you can see that the Braves should win most of their ball games on paper. This is where the Braves should win. Is that going to happen? Who knows? But after that, they face Phillies and they face the Reds, who are an exciting ball club this year. Standings subsided. I don't even know where they are. They have a lot of young players. They're a good team, and they tend to have some luck against the Braves. From there, you go against the Twins before you face the Marlins again. Now, let's talk about the Marlins, because they are the team that is closest to getting to first place in the NL East. Their next stretch is pretty interesting. Again, they just lost to the Chicago White Sox in a walk-off, which is phenomenal, by the way. They have 2 more against the White Sox. They then will face the Mariners, and then they will face the Nationals, and then they go into a series with the Blue Jays, and then the Pirates. So their next stretch isn't exactly easy, although the Marlins have played really good baseball this year, especially comparable to what they've done in recent years. So they're kind of a team that has come out of nowhere this year in a way for a lot of people. I've been telling you for years that the Marlins have the potential to break out one of these seasons, because they have young pitching, they have young good pitching, they have some exciting players, and they don't play the typical style of baseball that you see today. They don't play the 3-outcome baseball. They play small ball, which we saw a lot of tonight. They steal bases. They got the guy named Arias who's hitting, if not 400, pretty close to it. So just know that it's going to be an interesting run at the NL East this year. It's not over. Let me state over and over again, it is not over. There is plenty of time for the NL East to flip around. Things happen, right? But the Braves are on an excellent pace. Their winning percentage is north of 600 at 619. Shout out to all my Rey Mysterio fans out there. But they're on a really good pace. And if they stay on that pace, they're unstoppable, in my opinion. However, they do have obstacles. And we've talked about those obstacles extensively. We've talked about the fact that we're down Max Fried and Kyle Wright and the fact that, we have so many pitching questions. The bullpen isn't quite as dominant as it has been. It's not a weapon that we can count on like we have in previous years. At least that's what we've seen so far this season. But I really believe at the trade deadline you can expect some movement. And if you ask me why you can expect some movement, one of you guys asked me last night about what pitcher do I think could be traded, and I told you, well, I don't know that I think a pitcher will be traded, but I could tell you for sure that I do think that you have two shortstop prospects right now with value that another team could use, if for nothing else, a bat or a glove. The glove being Shoemake, the bat being Grissom. And neither one of them are making an impact on the Major League roster right now because you have Arcia. And you have Arcia locked up on what Chipper Jones said the other night is the steal of the year in terms of a player. You got him for $7.3 million for 3 years. It doesn't get much better than that. And considering what Orlando Arcia has done this year, he's been phenomenal. That said, I do believe you have some pitching arms out there that you could trade. And I didn't think about it. You guys kind of put me on the spot last night, but I did some more thinking about it today, and I honestly think A.J. Smith Shawver's appearance really made me think about it. Not because I believe A.J. Smith Shawver is on the chopping block, but I do think there are plenty of options to trade that the Braves can't use all of. Right now, they kind of need all the starting pitching that they can get. But if you get Max Fried back, if you get Kyle Wright back, things get interesting, because let's just assume that you have 5 rotation spots, right? Max Fried, Kyle Wright take the top 2, Strider takes 3, Morton takes 4, and right now I'd probably say Elder would take 5, right? Considering he has pitched very well this season. That said, there's no other spot for Jared Schuster, no other spot for Mike Soroka, potentially, Michael Soroka, no other spot for any of these guys, Dylan Dodd, A.J. Smith Shawver. And these guys aren't necessarily being brought in to cater to that. They're not going for that well, they might be going for the rotation spot, but the Braves are not bringing them in with the mindset that, hey, you need to pitch well because you're going to be the horse that carries us through the year. No, they're getting us by until the eventual return of Max Fried and or Kyle Wright. That's what's going on here. But there's other names further down. I think of Ian Anderson, a guy who pitched in 2021 very well for the World Series team, guy that really showed off what he could do and has been injured, has not been himself, whatever the case may be. There are so many names within the Braves ranks that we don't even talk about anymore. Huascar Ynoa's one. But we have a lot of arms, is my point. Do we have a lot of aces? No, nobody has a lot of aces, but we do have a lot of good quality arms that could provide extra insurance in a trade, could provide that extra boost in a trade, right? And I think a good trade package could get you a couple quality bullpen arms. I'm not going to get into who I think that may be, but come trade deadline, we will. We will talk about some possibilities that I think are out there. Because right now you're starting to see more teams become like the Nationals, where they're 13.5 games back, or the Rockies, who are 12.5 games back, or whoever the case may be. Those are the teams that you got to look at. The Cardinals are 8 games back. So there's a lot of teams that you can look at that are like that. The Red Sox, 14. Blue Jays, 10.5. Royals are 13.5. The Athletics are 27.5. Lord knows we trade plenty with them. So there are those teams out there that will be looking to trade and looking to sell come trade deadline. So we will talk about that. But I just want to put it in your head. The Braves do have a lot of starting pitching arms, not necessarily guys that, you'd be super upset if we lost. Not to say that I'm talking about the potential future of the rotation and Jared Schuster and, those A.J. Smith Shawver. I'm not talking about those guys. But there are guys within the organization that could very well find themselves in a trade. So when that time comes, we will talk plenty about it, and I know that you guys are going to want to talk about it when that time comes. But for now, we are going to talk about what you guys want to talk about in the comment section below. Now, for the record, we are not going as long as we did last night. Last night, we finished up right around 1 in the morning. I do not plan to be here that long, so make sure to get your comments in. And again, Super Chats, do give you priority in the comments section. We do have a super chat. It is from Z Corp Alpha, big supporter of the channel. Always appreciate what he can do. Says he can't stay, but please support On Deck. Thank you very much. Any support does help, and we really do appreciate you, Z Corp Alpha, and for all of those that super chat. We really do thank you. And again, guys, the biggest thing you can do, even if you don't super chat, the best thing you can do is like and subscribe. Your support means everything to me. That's the best way to support me, is to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, turn on those notifications so that you get notified when we do go live, because that way you won't miss any of it. Also, you can go check out the On Deck shop, which has plenty of merchandise. I got something right here. Oh, if I can get it, if it doesn't fall. On Deck hat, but we have hoodies, we have shirts, we have everything. I would love for you to go check it out and wear it to the ballpark to show your support. Let other people know about us. Make sure to tell every Braves fan you know about this channel, because I promise you, you don't get this content anywhere else. It's all up here in the dome on my head. That being said, we do have plenty to talk about tonight. I know you guys are going to have plenty to talk about as well. The biggest news here lately is that the Marlins just walked it off. The White Sox just walked it off against the Marlins, and that, of course, gives the Braves that extra little leg in the NL East. So we'll, of course, keep an eye on that, but long ways to go. We are 39-24, I believe, on the year, which means we have a little over 62 games played, I believe. That's quick math. Right around 60 games played, so we have about 100 more games to play. We will see how the Braves do, but it's going to be a long time before we have to worry about who's going to be in first at the end of the season, but hopefully it will be the Atlanta Braves. Good Stuff tunes in. He says, can't believe Marlins and Phillies are both on a 6-game winning streak. Well, that's the thing. Well, the Marlins just ended theirs. I don't know what the Phillies did today. I'm not even concerning myself with the Phillies right now. I'm really kind of keeping an eye on the Marlins, and of course we just finished the series with the Mets, so naturally keeping an eye on the Mets. But no, I mean, the NL East, I've said for a long time, is one of the most, I would say, difficult divisions to go through. And the fact that the Braves are 5-time consecutive NL East champions says a lot about the organization and what they do. But the NL East is a lot more competitive and a lot more difficult and stacked than I think a lot of people give credit for. And if you're looking at the divisions objectively, I think the weakest division in baseball is possibly that AL Central. At least it has been for the past few years. You have the Tigers and the Royals in the same division. The White Sox are an exciting team. Of course, they won tonight, but they weren't exactly what they needed to be last year. The Guardians are a good team. The Twins are a good team. But overall, that division is very weak compared to the AL West, who has the Rangers and the Astros, and the Mariners, who were good last year, the Angels. Obviously the Athletics will look past that, but that division is very competitive. The AL East is always competitive. The Rays are killing it right now. The Orioles have had a very good year. They have the exact same record as the Braves, if that tells you anything. The Yankees are a good team, but they're in a competitive field. But to me, the most competitive division in baseball is the NL East. It may not be this year. We'll see how the year goes. But last year, that was the case. I mean, you're talking about a division that didn't get settled until the second to last series in the year. I mean, that is the hang on, let me take out the trash real quick. Sorry about that, guys. That is the ultimate, division to me, is the guys that are able to navigate through a division like that. The NL Central is another one of those kind of weak ones, I believe. The Cubs and the Cardinals both not having a good year. The Reds are on the come up. The Pirates are having a really good year. The Brewers are having a good year. But I don't believe they're necessarily the strongest division. I really believe it's that NL East. And, last year, what really makes the NL East a strong division is the pitching. Because ultimately, the pitching is what's going to lead the team, right? That's what's going to lead the team, and that's what has led the teams in the NL East. Because even remember a few years ago, the Mets, when they had DeGrom, and their rotation was stacked. The Phillies had Nola and Jake Arrieta, who I know didn't work out necessarily well for the Phillies, but at the time that was a big deal. You had and the Marlins getting Sandy, getting Pablo. They were a difficult team to face on at least 2 out of the 5 days, but they were pesky. They were difficult to face sometimes. And, the Nationals up until a couple years ago, were a very good team as well. So the NL East over the past few years has been really competitive. This year it's a little different. We're starting to see a little bit of a shift where the Mets are honestly less competitive this season, which is weird to say, and I'm a little hesitant to say that because they might bite me later, but they're a little less competitive. The Marlins are more competitive, at least so far through 2023. The Phillies are remaining competitive, but they're not as strong. The NL East this year, I don't believe, is as strong as it was last year, because if it was, I don't believe the Braves would be sitting so pretty where they are now. That's my opinion on it, though. Austin Nocho asked a question that a lot of people have asked this season. What are the odds of Ozuna getting traded at this point? Good question, and it's one that we're going to have to just keep an eye on because it's tough to say. I told you a few months ago, before Ozuna got on the hot streak that he's on, that I would not be opposed to it. That doesn't mean I was pulling for it to happen, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. There was a rumor dropped, we don't know for sure if it's real, that supposedly the Braves made an offer to the Marlins for Marcell Ozuna and a couple prospects, Marcell Ozuna for Jorge Soler straight up. I would be in favor of that 2 months ago. Now it's up in the air. Marcell Ozuna has completely flipped the script on us because the Braves have really done a good job. And I'm not bashing them for this. I think it's actually really good. I actually said this a few weeks ago, that you never hear that Marcell Ozuna's a great teammate. You hear it, but you don't see it. And 3 days ago, we saw it. We've seen what he's done on the field, and we saw him being a really good teammate to Michael Harris. We talked about that last night. That makes a difference. And that showed me why the Braves have kept him around. Because you've always heard that he's the biggest clubhouse cheerleader, right? You've heard that. But that was the first time that we really got to see it firsthand. That's what Brian Snitker sees every day. That's what Alex Anthopoulos sees every day. That's the difference. And I honestly am going to have to take back the fact that I said I wouldn't have been opposed to it, because right now I'd be opposed to it. And that's me saying I was wrong. Now, granted, we'll see how his year goes. But I mean, all of the off-the-field stuff, to me, is irrelevant at this point. It's old. It's out of date. I'm not with it. I am much more fascinated with how good can Marcell Ozuna be. I told you, even when I was talking about his potential trade, I told you at the time that Marcell Ozuna could easily carry a team for 60 games. We've seen it. We saw it in 2020, right? If he can get his mind right. And it seems to me like that is the case. And if he wants to be a good member of this team, if he wants to produce, and if he wants to be a good clubhouse leader like he has been here lately, I don't see him going anywhere. I don't, because he's been great. The question is going to become, what do you do with Travis d'Arnaud? Because d'Arnaud has been kept primarily as a bat, and if you're taking the DH spot away to give it to Ozuna from d'Arnaud, that's going to lead to some questions for me, because if that's the case, what, again, do you do with Travis d'Arnaud? I believe d'Arnaud is a great backup catcher. I don't think he's going anywhere, but it's just a balance. How do you give both of them at bats? That's the real question. Great question, Austin. We do have a super chat that I missed, and man, do we have some spammers tonight, but it's all right. I don't mind Mets fans, but don't be a spammer. Hello Newman, says Chop On. Thank you for that. And again, really do love the support tonight. Thank you for that. Really do appreciate it. And, we really enjoy the support on the channel. So again, thank you for that, Newman. And thank you to all of those that do super chat. Thank you to all of those that do subscribe and all that good stuff. We really do appreciate it. And it really does help the channel grow. Helps me get this out there a little bit more. It helps a better conversation happen once we do these streams. Jeff Berry, you're having your own conversation. George Bulldogs, he says, I believe Schuster is starting for tomorrow. He is probable, according to El Google, but Bryce Elder is probable for the finale. We will see, but we that's all we can do is wait and see. I do believe that is what's to happen. I don't know if it's official, but I do believe that's what will happen. Charles Pruitt, brand new commenter, says, "Hi Tyler, I watch your show all the time. I really enjoy it." Well, thank you very much, Charles. That makes my day just that much better. Again, really do appreciate the support and thank you for that. Let's see. Woods, I had Braves -1.5, so I lose. Well, hey man, I'm sorry for you. I just hope they win every night. So I won tonight. Joe Reese says, "How many starts do you think Soroka makes before he returns? Do you think he returns before or after the All-Star break?" Okay, well, it's going to be a little different for Soroka this go-around because what really gave Soroka the opportunity to return this time was the fact that the Braves have so many starting pitching problems right now in terms of injuries. So I'm not saying he's waiting on somebody to get hurt, but he is waiting for an opportunity. Right now, you're I hate to call him this, but you're kind of your weakest link would be A.J. Smith Shawver, just simply because he's a rookie. He's 20 years old. He just had his major league debut. I don't think it's crazy that I'm saying that. He pitched very well. I'm just saying that is your potential weakest link. Similar to how Dylan Dodd was your weakest link at that time, right? Naturally, he got eventually sent down because it just didn't work out like the Braves and Dylan Dodd had hoped. That doesn't mean he's a bad pitcher. It just means it didn't work out for right now. So what Soroka's got to wait on is not necessarily when he's ready. He's got to wait on when the Braves are ready to give him another opportunity, when that time works out. It could be when A.J. Smith Shawver has another appearance and it doesn't work out. It could be that somebody potentially gets hurt. I'm just saying he's kind of got to wait for an opening, right? Even the great Hank Aaron had to wait for an opening. So, he had to wait for somebody to get out of the way for that opening to happen. Vaughn Grissom would have never played for the Braves up until this point if Ozzie Albies didn't get hurt last year and Braden Shoemaker didn't get hurt last year. That's how baseball works, right? It's funneled to the top, and that's kind of what he's waiting on. I'm not saying that's necessarily how it's going to go. I'm just telling you they're waiting on an opportunity. He's got to have a couple more starts, and there has to be a door open. There's got to be a slot open. And it could be that somebody got hurt, or it could be that, somebody's just going through a struggle, similar to how Soroka's been going. That's, it's a flow, right? You have to go with the hot hand. And Soroka may turn out to be a hot hand at the right time, but right now it's not there. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult for Soroka this go around because you eventually will have Fried and Wright coming back. Do I think it'll be after the All-Star break, before the All-Star break? The All-Star break's, 3 weeks away? I think it'll likely be after. I could be wrong, but the important thing is, number one, he's healthy, which is the biggest obstacle he had to overcome. Number two, he has shown that he can give you length. Now it's a matter of he's just got to pitch well, which sounds easy, a little harder than what I'm making it to sound like, but he does have to get that back to normal. And he can do it now because he is healthy. And that's what I want you to realize. It's not like he's battling back from injury anymore. He's just battling himself and battling the struggles that a normal pitcher would battle. And that's the best thing you can ask for. He did get a little shelled that last go-around. He got hit really well. So I think the Braves are going to want to work with him a little heavier and see kind of what they can do. And in AAA, you can afford to do that, right? Because they're looking at Soroka as a long-term project. And I hate to use the word project, but they're looking at him as a long-term guy that they can count on to be with the Braves for a long time. I believe they're thinking they're going to re-sign him, right? But they got to get him healthy first. And I think if he comes back healthy and starts pitching like he used to, they very well may sign him long-term. But that's a lot of, time and effort away. So we'll see how it goes. That's all we can hope for. Just to see him back on a Major League mound once was nice. I hope we can see him back to his full potential. But I do believe he's going to have to kind of earn his way back and wait for his time, and that's kind of the unfortunate thing. I told you that I didn't want them to bring Soroka back too early. The Braves didn't want to bring him back too early. Their hand might have been forced with Max Fried and Kyle Wright. In fact, I would expect that it got forced. Even Alex Anthopoulos said that, they didn't want to bring him back just to send him back down. So unfortunately, that's the case. And his road back to the show completely is still ongoing. We'll follow it as it goes, but that's where it sits right now. He's kind of waiting on that opportunity. Let's see. Vo from the 518 says Braves were floundering last Friday and then 6 in a row. Wow. You know what's funny, Vo? I said a few weeks ago that this is a Braves team that can flip on a dime and win 10 straight. And I believe that at any time they can do that. And right now we're kind of in the midst of that. And it seems like they can do no wrong because any given night, it doesn't feel like the Braves are out of it. Last night, here, I have it over here. Last night, I mean, we've talked about this extensively last night. But last night, they were down at one point, 5-3. Then they were down 6-3. They got 2 runs, so they were down 6-5. I mean, they always came back. They were down 9-6. They came back from that and eventually won the game 13-10. So any given deficit, it never quite feels like this Braves offense is out of it because no matter how late it becomes, no matter what, they seem to be able to score runs. And right now that's the case. There's going to come a time where that's going to slump and it's going to happen. But right now that's the case. And there may be a time where they're floundering, but remember, they're also a team that's capable of doing what we just talked about, those six games straight. And I think the key to that, really, you can talk about the offense scoring the 13 runs. You can talk about the fact they came back 4-1 twice against the Mets in the first 2 games. Talk about all that. But the real key for me is the bullpen. I've mentioned that a few times. You know, tonight they went 7th, 8th, and 9th innings scoreless. Last night they went 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th scoreless. You know, so I really think the bullpen is a key part. If they can find the guys they can count on. You know, there's been some guys that, you know, are expected to do better that haven't had the starts to 2023 they were hoping for. If they can get them turned on, and of course I think you know who I'm talking about, primarily A.J. Minter. If they can get him back to where he needs to be, he's had some good little outings, but we know what we expect out of A.J. Minter. If they can get him back to that, we're really going to be rolling with something. And, you know, the guys that I mentioned earlier, all these pitching arms, you know, if A.J. Smith Shawver is likely not going to be a starter come the end of this season, come the All-Star break. Whenever Max Fried and Kyle Wright come back, he's not going to be a starter. Maybe, you know, he becomes a bullpen arm. Maybe some of these other guys become bullpen arms next year. They can't all be starters. And you have your 5 spots pretty much filled this year, right? When everyone's healthy. I mean, you have them filled. But maybe you can count on some of these guys to give you long relief when, you know, some of these other guys aren't working out. We saw recently Lucas Letke got DFA'd because he wasn't working out. You know, I'm not saying anybody in the bullpen is sitting on the hot seat. I don't think that right now. But you may have to count on some of these younger arms. And if not because someone's not working out, maybe because someone gets injured. Maybe it's never a bad thing to have depth. But I also think you could potentially trade some of these arms. So we'll see how it goes. I know I just kind of went on a rant there, but no, Vo, this team can flip on a dime. And again, I think in large part due to the offense, but also in large part due to the bullpen. The starting rotation is going to have its issues right now, but the bullpen has seemed to kind of steady everything out. Jeff Berry says the Marlins could be a wild card team. Crazy. Jeff Berry, don't sell yourself short. They could be, I mean, they could win the NL East. You're not going to like that I said that, but they could. They are only, again, 3-4 games out. So they're not out of it. Now, if you want to be realist, the Nationals are out of it. They're 13 and a half games back. They don't have the talent. I think we can all say that. I'm going to be real with you. I'm not comfortable saying the Mets are out of it, even if they're 9.5 games back. I need another 6-7 games before I say that because of what we saw last year. 10.5 games in June isn't enough. 9.5 games in June isn't enough. 8 games, not enough. 4 games is certainly not enough. The Marlins could very well win the NL East. If the Braves don't hold up their end of the bargain, that could happen. Now, if I was a betting man, I'd pick the Braves, but you get my point. I mean, they're not out of it. Good Stuff says, I miss Matzik. I do too. I miss Matzik a lot as well. What he brought to the Braves was special. I miss Luke Jackson. Do you remember him? I miss Luke Jackson, kind of. And we got interviews with both of them actually on the channel right now. So make sure to go check that out. You can find them on the homepage. So make sure to go check them out. They're good interviews. I sat down with them both. Very nice guys. And we talked about really the World Series run. And we specifically for Matzik, I'll tell you this. We talked about, well, with Luke Jackson and Matzik, actually. We talked about Luke Jackson getting into the trouble with the Dodgers where he had 2 in scoring position. They brought in Matzik, and he proceeded to strike out 3 righties in a row. So including Albert Pujols and Mookie Betts. So it's we talked about that, and it's a really good interview. I really encourage you to go check it out after this stream. So that's the best thing I can tell you. Guys, do me a favor. Do remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell on social media, all that good stuff. And actually, because I hit the bell on the social media, it tells you how tired I am. Hit the bell so you can get notifications, and of course follow me on social media. Reason I say that, I actually retweeted something a few minutes ago that you guys ought to go check out. It was Gary Cohen, and some of you guys may have seen this. Gary Cohen on tonight's Mets broadcast. By the way, he is a Mets broadcaster. This would be the equivalent of like Brandon Gowden saying this. Well, quote Gary Cohen, quote, "Well, I don't know what rock bottom feels like, but this seems awfully close." That just about sums up where the Mets season is as we speak. It could flip around. I don't know. But it's getting rough up there in New York. I'm sure the sports writers are having a field day. But yeah, make sure to go check that out. You can find it on my Twitter, which of course the @ is right there below. Make sure to retweet it. Dramas. Oh, sorry. I know we had a bit of a spammer. Yeah, our mods are all busy tonight. The unpaid interns took the night off, so sorry about that. Nicholas says, trade Morton. That's an interesting thought, but no, I don't believe so. Morton has actually been a steady hand this year. In fact, I'll pull up his stats. I mean, I'm not even telling you because I've been looking at stats. I'm telling you because of what I see day to day. I think he's actually a guy that you can count on, and especially right now, being with all the questions that you're going to enter the All-Star break and enter the trade deadline with surrounding your starting pitching, a guy like Morton really provides a lot of stability. He's got a 3.89 ERA. He's 5-6 on the year, but win-loss is what it is. Two-time World Series winner, if you didn't know already. He's got a 1.1 WAR so far this year, which is decent. Pretty good, honestly. But no, I think his stats are fine. I mean, he's gotten 12 games through 69 innings, only giving up 71 hits for 77 strikeouts. His strikeout per 9 is at 10, so he's averaging 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only averaging 1 homer per 9 innings. He's only averaging 9 hits per innings. His strikeout to walk ratio is 2.57. He's a guy that I think you have to kind of count on through the year. Very well could be his final year, but I don't think you're really going to get back the value you have with him in a trade. I don't think you're going to get a better return for Morton. I think if you trade Morton, you're likely looking at something, I just don't think anyone's going to respect Morton the way we do and accommodate that in a trade. I would just be surprised. Could it happen? Sure. He is on the last year of his deal because it is a 1-year deal, $20 million. You could, but I believe the Braves paid him because they want him here, and I believe he will be here. I'd be very, very, very surprised if he went anywhere other than staying in Atlanta. I would just be surprised. And for all of what he's done, I would, in an Atlanta uniform, my favorite one is my favorite one is basically, how do I put this? My favorite one is him striking out Jose Altuve on a broken freaking leg. That's my favorite. Here, Matthew, I'll make you one. Sorry about all the spammers tonight, guys. Let's see. Yeah, sorry about all the spammers tonight. I can only control so much. Our mods are taking the night off, but we do got one in the chat now. I'm going to make a couple of you guys mods just so you guys, you guys that watch all the time, I know you guys will be responsible with such a responsibility. Thank you guys for offering to do that, but now you can do it. Newman says, supporting your great content, keep killing it, my dude. Thank you, my dude. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. Jeff Barry has a great one. He says, why would anyone be a Mets fan? It's funny. I almost started the stream last night with a clip from Frank the Tank. I came this close. The only reason I didn't was, for one, I didn't want to run into any copyright issues. I don't know how that would go with him being at Barstool. I just don't know. But also, I would have to bleep out so much, and you wouldn't really get the full effect. I keep it clean around here. I don't drop any of that, so I wasn't going to put it on that. But I came that close. Yeah, being a Mets fan right now is pretty tough. I just read that quote from Gary Cohen, it's pretty tough. You know, I really would have hated to have been them last year with a team that had so much hope, so much energy around it to get swept, to lose the division and then to be gassed in the postseason. Like, yeah, the Braves didn't do any better in the postseason in theory, but they won the division, you know, and that's something they can hang their hat on. The Mets kind of had a lost year. Last year, DeGrom, you know, I mean, it's just, it's tough. It's really tough. Let's see. Zachary Whitfield says, go Braves, and the Marlins lose, so good night for us. Yeah, very good night for us. Jeff Barry says, I hear Orlando may be getting an MLB team. Have you heard of this? Jeff Barry, you know, there's been some talk in recent years about Nashville, which would be interesting. Orlando would be interesting, but then you would have 3 teams in Florida if you're adding a new one. If you're moving one, which the only 2 that I would even consider moving would be Oakland, who is, of course, considering moving to Vegas, probably moving to Vegas. And then, of course, the Tampa Bay Rays, who are actually playing really good baseball right now but can't get a crowd. So that would be the team that would potentially move to Orlando. I would honestly support that because I think it would be better for that organization. However, I will tell you, as a baseball fan that travels, I've been to 18, 19 of the baseball parks across the country. Some have been torn down since I've been to them, but we go. That's how we plan our vacations. We plan to see baseball parks. Been to most of them on the East Coast. I've been to Tropicana, and a lot of people talk down on Tropicana Field. I guarantee you this: those of you out there that have moms that don't particularly love baseball, they'll go to a game or whatever, but they don't love it. Take them to Tropicana Field. It's air conditioned. It's affordable on the food side of things. They want you there because they can't get you there, so they do want you there. I actually watched them play the A's, I believe, there, and empty stadium, but I loved it. You know, I thought the field is actually kind of underrated. So in terms of moving to Orlando, there's positives and negatives with that. You kind of lose that feel, but it's also really good for the team. Do I think they should do it? I don't know. I'm not in the business meetings. I don't know where the money sits. I can assume, considering they close off the upper deck because nobody sits up there, everybody's in the lower bowl, I assume it's not going very well. But also, you know, moving to Orlando, you run the risk of it not going well in Orlando. Granted, Orlando is a little bit more of a tourist spot. You know, I don't know that baseball is going to flourish there. So it's interesting, right? Because Montreal is a big city. Baseball flourished there for a few years. It still didn't work out eventually. So it's complicated. Do I think they could move to Orlando? Yes. I don't know the schematics of the city. I don't know where they would go. I don't know any of the actual specifics. But in terms of do I think it would be better for Tampa Bay Rays, that is, yeah. But I am also of the opinion that I don't mind the Oakland A's leaving Oakland, because I think it very well may be time for that to happen. That doesn't mean I support the organization making that decision, making it as I don't. It just kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth the way the organization has decided to do it. But I was talking to somebody the other day. They're like, I can't understand why the Oakland A's are leaving. You can't. You can't. They have possums coming out of the ceiling in the press box. I can completely understand why they could want to leave Oakland. Their attendance is abysmal. I mean, they don't have it. It hasn't. They have not been able to compete financially for decades now. So I can completely understand moving to a spot like Las Vegas, where you have constant income, constant new people coming through. And when you look at what the Raiders have done, you can't blame them for trying to replicate that success. So a lot of people in Oakland aren't going to like it. I can understand that. But I understand as an organization how you get led to that. And if you need any further proof, look at what the Braves did a few years ago, leaving Turner Field. I wasn't supportive of that when I was a kid and when I was 16 years old, you know. But now looking at it, it's like, well, they wouldn't have the battery. They wouldn't have this constant income. They wouldn't have, you know, a lot of this stuff. And they do because of that. And they're not that far away, granted. But, you know, I can understand why an organization would look at their facilities, which if you're honest and you look at Oakland's facilities, you know, I can understand why the organization would do it. especially if I was the guy flipping the bill. So that's my thoughts on that. MLB teams come and go from different cities, but the Atlanta Braves aren't going anywhere. That's what's important. We'll see. We'll see. Joe Mixon says, I think Strider should be pushed back a few days to get some extra rest and give Allen Winans a spot start so he can see Strider, so I can see Strider when I go to Tampa in July. So, yeah, you're headed to Tampa, you know. It's funny you bring him up, the Allen Winans. I was actually tagged in something earlier, and I read it, but I want to make sure I get this correct. Allen Winans had the first 9-inning complete game at AAA this season. This is last night. He threw 9 innings pitched. He gave up 4 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, and only had 3 strikeouts. So he's more than likely a really good ground ball pitcher. I mean, that seems to be his road to success. It's 1 appearance. I don't know how his year is going. I mean, I can look it up for you real quick while I'm talking. But that said, do I think there is some truth to Strider's velocity going down? Yeah. And I see Industry Streetwear asked about the same thing. What do you think about Strider's velo being a lot lower than usual, just saving his arm? I wish I had the clip ready. In fact, maybe I do. I talked about this last year, and the reason I bring this up is I literally, my concern with him being a starting pitcher was the velo, because he throws 100 pitches a game, at 102 miles an hour. It's going to have this effect. It just is. And I talked about this, and I actually had Leo Mazzoni talk about it as well. And you know what I'll do? I was actually, Seth Chambers, if you're out there watching right now, tweeted me this morning an old video I put out with my concerns on this. So it's actually very easy for me to go find this. And that's exactly what I'm about to go do. So give me just a second. I'll actually put it in the comments section. You guys, I really encourage you, just go watch it after the stream. Because it's actually honestly pretty telling of what has happened. I'm going to put it there now, but again, just go watch it after the stream. Leo Mazzoni spoke about it, and if you don't trust me, you can trust Leo Mazzoni. Former pitching coach for the Braves for 20 years, pretty much raised Glavine and Smoltz and did some good things with Maddox as well. So you can take his word for it. In terms of the velo being down, I definitely think there's something to it. I don't think there's an injury. I just think it's fatigue. But, that's the question. He proved me wrong last year. He pitched all year as a starter, never really showed many signs of fatigue, never showed weakness, but it catches up to you, and he's going to have to prove me wrong long-term too. There's plenty of pitchers that throw 100 miles an hour all year long. But a quote from is this. I think ultimately you look at what Leo Mazzoni does. I think ultimately, let me rephrase. The quote is, what guy led the league last year in most pitches thrown over 100 miles an hour? This is 2 years ago. It was Jacob deGrom. Do you know what else he led in? Missed starts. So that's kind of the same boat we're going down with Spencer Strider. So do I think there's something to it? Yes, because I trust the man himself, Leo Mazzoni. That clip is attached now. I would really suggest to just go check it out. I believe we're having some technical difficulties. So give me just a second. I want to make sure we're good to go. Yeah, we are. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I saw a notification pop up. I got a little concerned, but thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for staying with us. Hopefully we can make sure we're still here. All right. Sounds good. All right. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Ultimately, I am concerned, especially when his fastball is sitting at 94, 95. But do I think it's going to have long-term effects? Possibly, but we can't really predict it, right? We can't really go through it like that and predict it. In terms of Allen Winans, number 37 for the Gwinnett Stripers, he's 5-3 on the year, 2.66 ERA, 59 strikeouts. He may be in line next for a spot start. You could give it to him and give Strider that couple days off you want. It could happen. He's got plenty of options, right? So why not? But we'll see. It wouldn't overly surprise me. Matthew, hey Tyler, it seems we are living in the Mets' heads. Hey Tyler, it seems we are living in Mets fans' heads rent free. They just lost again tonight after giving up 14 runs to the Pirates. Do you suggest giving the hate they give us back or brushing it off? Brushing it off, because stay classy, Atlanta. I'm just kidding. I don't really get into it. I mean, I do my occasional tweet, just to put it out there and, participate, I guess. But I'm not going to get into these arguments with Mets fans that aren't giving me any substance. As much as I love watching Frank the Tank, it's not because he's insightful in any way. It's because it's entertainment, right? I don't hate Mets fans. I respect Mets fans, honestly, because they put up with far more than a lot of other fan bases do, and they stick with it. So it's rough on them. I hate it for them. But I also root for the Braves. So for me, I would tell you to brush it off. It's not worth it. I'll put it to you this way, Matthew. I get a lot of nasty comments, okay? A ton of them. You don't even know about it, but they're there. And I delete them. I don't worry about it because it's not worth it. So that would be my opinion on that. Scooter Puff says, I feel like the A's series was a big wake-up call for the team. Remember that we were about a foot short of Darno's bat from sweeping the D-backs too and being on an 8-game winning streak. Yep, I can get that. I think the turnaround really happened in Arizona, though, because that's when another closed-door meeting happened, and I really think that's kind of when the energy flipped. But I can understand what you're saying. It stinks that we had to lose 2 to the A's, but, we'll see. Let's see. A lot of you guys being active tonight, really do appreciate it. Remember to like the video, though. Joe Reese says, the difference between the Braves last year and the Mets this year is the Braves were struggling, but the Mets are in complete turmoil. The Braves didn't have any, nasty injury last year, that I can really think of. They just didn't really get off to a great start. That's kind of the best way to put it. They got themselves in that deep hole, but it's kind of the other way around now, right? And it's a good place to be. But you also don't want to open the door for the Mets to get it back. Sergeant Gibby. I love that name. Don't trade Morton. Don't trade Morton. He's way better than last year. You just need to settle in. He's a second-half pitcher. Agreed. I also think if you're going to make a run for in the postseason, you need someone like Morton, who's been there plenty, and you need someone like Morton who can contribute, because you have a lot of starting pitchers right now, but not all of them can contribute like him. And I don't think you're going to give up a veteran starting pitcher who could still contribute ahead of the postseason. Let's see. Can we get 14 straight wins like we did last year? Sure. We're on a good path to do it now. We got 6, so maybe we can get 8 more. That's from Tanya Belcher. Let's see. William Carr says more bullpen arms. I 105% agree. Joey Fox, if Arcia continues to be consistent, would you leave him at shortstop for the length of his contract, considering the price we're paying for him? Yeah, I would. And I don't know who wouldn't. The guy's making, I think I said $7.3 million, right around $7 million for 3 years. You're averaging 2 and some change there. I keep him there for another 5 if he continues to do this, because none of you suspected this was going to happen. None of me suspected that was going to happen either. The Braves knew. They knew something. It was exciting. They wouldn't have signed him to a 3-year deal in spring training if they didn't. They also knew that what they had in the minors wasn't exactly up to par, and they knew that they were going to have to do something. Orlando Arcia was that solution. Does that mean that he's going to sign an extension? I don't know. Is he going to play the length of his contract? I don't know. If Vaughn Grissom flips it around, does that mean Vaughn Grissom gets the spot? I don't know. What I do know is that Orlando Arcia has earned the job as of right now. He's the guy there, and he's playing pretty well. If he can continue that into next year and into the following year, yes, I think you let him play that position to the end of the contract. If that means that Vaughn Grissom has to wait 3 years, he has to wait 3 years. If that means that Vaughn Grissom is traded, then he's traded. But Orlando Arcia has been nothing short of spectacular within the expectations set for him. So Philip Wickham says, what do you think the Braves trade for before the deadline? Bullpen help, most likely, yes. They're getting starting pitching back, so eliminate that idea. The people that are telling you that don't listen to that. The people that are telling you Jock Peterson, No. just no. We don't need it. There's nowhere for him. There's nowhere in the lineup. Just no. It's not there. We don't need an outfield bat. You have Rosario. You have Sam Hilliard. You don't need it. You have Ozuna, too. You don't need a DH. You have Darno and Ozuna. You don't need it. You don't need any infielders. You got that covered. You don't need starting pitchers because, again, you're getting them back. Bullpen's the one thing that you can improve immediately. And that's going to happen at the trade deadline, maybe even before it, like you said. And now that some teams are really getting out of range for competing, like the Nationals, I don't know that we'd want anybody from these teams, I'm just saying. But the Cardinals, even the Cubs, the Rockies, the Padres are 8.5 back. The Giants are 5.5 back, right? So the more that these teams get out of range of competing, the more likely they're like, okay, well, this year's a bust. Let's get rid of our assets that aren't going to be here next year. Your free agents, right? Because you can lose those with little to no repercussions, right? And then you can get prospects back and start building up from the bottom, right? That's how that works. But you also have teams that say, hey, we're not going to be competitive for the next few years. So this guy that we have signed to a 4-year deal, Raisel Iglesias, is a perfect example. Last year, the Angels didn't exactly have a great year last year ahead of coming to the Braves. You know, hey, this guy we have signed for 4 years hasn't had a great year. We're not competing this season. We don't need a bullpen arm. Why don't you guys take him and we'll take Tucker Davidson. We'll build up our young pitching staff because that's what we need right now, right? So that's how it works. So that's the way I choose to look at it. So my first targets every year around trade deadline are the people that are the teams that aren't competing, won't compete this year at all, and then the teams that, hey, they're kind of eternally bad. So the teams this year that would be the Royals, or number one, the Athletics, the A's, the Tigers. You could argue that they're still kind of on that build. They're getting better, but they're still on that come up. The Red Sox are 14 games back. They're not eternally bad, but they're a team that's so far out of it very well would be likely to trade. Blue Jays probably not trading any star players, but they might trade some bullpen pieces. And that's the good news for the Braves this year is in 2020, the Braves desperately needed a starting pitcher. Desperately needed a starting pitcher. Anybody remember Tommy Malone and Robbie Erlin? We were happy that we got those two. I'm not saying they're terrible pitchers. I'm just saying that's not who you want to be excited to get. The reason we were desperate to get a starting pitcher is because our depth wasn't there. That's when Kyle Wright was too young to really be a starter and be himself now. And come postseason, it really showed its ugly head. I still believe that if we had landed one decent starting pitcher at the trade deadline, we would have beat the Dodgers in the NLCS that year. I believe that 100%. I still do. I believe if Michael Soroka never gotten hurt, we would have beaten the Dodgers in the NLCS. I just don't see it going another way. You had a 3-1 lead, and then starting pitching ran out essentially. So it's just the Braves are in a much better spot needing bullpen help compared to needing starting pitching help. And you might say, Tyler, what are you talking about? We need starting pitching help. We only have a few. We have all these young guys who are having all these spot starts. And yet the pace continues. Starting pitching is going to solve itself come the return of Fried and Wright. That's going to solve itself. The real question is the bullpen. And they've been good these past couple nights. But no doubt about it, they're the biggest concern. It just is what it is. They're not the night shift. They're not the guys that it's over when they come out. They're the guys that you're biting your nails off when they come out. And I don't want to talk about it this way, but it's true. It's the fact. That's what the Braves need. So trade deadline, if you're looking around, maybe a bench bat, but that's it. And I don't even really see that happening. I think the main focus, 100% focus, is going to the bullpen. And if you're looking for, hey, who on the Braves are they going to trade to get bullpen help? Shortstop prospect, Vaughn Grissom, Braden Shoemaker, one or the other, maybe both, probably just one though. And a pitching prospect or a guy that's been lost in the shuffle that needs some new scenery. That's what it's going to be to me. That's what I think the Braves have to offer right now. Could they trade Morton? Sure. I don't think so though. Not at all. I just don't. Nicholas says Mets prove money doesn't mean anything. Yeah, I think their payout was $353 million Just saying. I know we're all really enjoying talking about the Mets tonight. And look, there's no one that loves talking about the Mets more than me. But they're also not the team in second place. It's the Marlins. So let's just keep an eye on that. Dylan, this is Richard Davis. Dylan Cease from Chicago would be great. Another Georgia guy. I again, Dylan Cease is good. I don't know that he's the one I would go with there. And the White Sox aren't necessarily so far out of it that it's they're going to be willing to trade. Let me look at his stats real quick. He's got a 4.38 ERA, not terrible. Not really bad at all. His ERA the last 7 days has been 1.69. I'm trying to find just basic stats. Come on, computer. Let me see. Sorry about this, guys. I am looking for you, I promise. ESPN's acting funny. All right, 2023, 4.38 ERA through 74 innings. For me, it's just, I don't know that that's what they're going to do. Honestly, I'm not opposed to it necessarily. I don't think so. Mainly due to the fact I don't think they're going to go for a starting pitcher. I think if anything, they're going to go for bullpen. And I really have to tune back in and tell you what bullpen arm I think they'd go get, because right now I'm honestly just there's so many bullpen arms out there that it'd be really difficult to nail one down. There's ones that catch my attention, but it's not fair to you to give you one and have you saying, well, Tyler said we're going to go get this guy. I'm not doing that yet. I'll let you know when, but not yet. Guys, do remember to like the video. Really do appreciate that. Really do appreciate your support. Really do appreciate you tuning in tonight. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to help the channel grow and to, of course, be a part of the community. We really appreciate you being here. Let's see. Not going to be here a ton more. But we are going to be here for a little while, maybe till, we'll call it midnight, Eastern, midnight, about 20 more minutes, and we're going to call it a night. Corey Hawkins, this Braves team feels special. Do you think they will fizz out or get cocky? No, I don't. I think the players that I would have worried about that with have all kind of matured. Right? Like Ozuna, for example. I think we've all seen him mature. Even in the past couple weeks, we've kind of gotten a front row seat to that. Acuna, for example, who after his injury has come in guns a-blazing, and been the player that he was always meant to be. I think a couple years ago we would have been talking about that. But I really think they've matured. And, there's not anybody else I can really think of that would have that issue. Acuna this year is hitting .332 with 12 homers and 28 stolen bases. The guy, I believe, is right now the best player in baseball. Name me somebody better. I don't see it. If there's a guy that I want on my team right now that is a weapon from all different aspects, it's him. Whether it's hitting, whether it's power hitting, whether it's base pass, fielding. He has it all. And I think he's arguably the best player in baseball. And he would have been the person that I could have possibly worried about getting cocky just naturally. It's his energy. But no, I don't think so. But we'll see. Things happen. We'll see. But no, I think this team is special, like you said. And I think they're going to give their best every day of the week. Let's see. Nicholas says, I think we should see more of that. I think his first few starts is him getting back from his injuries. I believe you're talking about Soroka. So, Soroka's on a path back, but it's going to be a long path back. It's not necessarily, it's not necessarily something that's going to happen overnight. We'll see. Based Omen. Iglesias is that strong closer we've been waiting on. Sign him already. What are you talking about? Sign him already. He's signed for 3 years, I believe. We traded for him. Yeah, he's signed through 2025. I wouldn't sign him just yet. Bullpen arms kind of do this year to year. AJ Minter, for example. I wouldn't sign him just yet. But I can understand why you might think so. I just wouldn't do it yet, personally. Yeah, he's on a 4-year deal. that's a deal coming away from the Angels. I mean, they could re-sign him, but not yet. Derek Smith, I always say being a Braves fan is more fun when the Mets are good and vice versa. Yeah, I mean, it does make it better. Like, last year was a lot of fun. Even, like, when we were down, it's like, well, I think we can come back. And that turned out to be the case. And watching Mets fans crumble to the ground at the end of the season was a good thing for us. You know, and it was a good thing to follow all through the year. It made it better. Any good rivalry needs a good opponent, right? And it is a rivalry, you know, and it's always going to be a rivalry because they want to compete. And, you know, that's kind of where we are. So we'll see how it goes. We'll continue to follow it. But the Mets have a long way to get back to the top of the NL East. They do. If they can do what the Braves did last year, hats off to them. But I think they have a long road ahead. Let's see. Corey Carter says, I see Ozuna finishing the year with us, but being traded next season when his contract is most tradable. Yeah, sure. I mean, maybe if at that point, if you can get somebody to give you a good return, possibly. If you can get a good return for him at the trade deadline, I mean, I'm not opposed to it still, just because I think we can get his performance or something similar to his performance from someone like d'Arnaud. I don't think it's like irreplaceable. I do think he's been excellent lately, but I don't think it's irreplaceable, you know, because the fielding isn't there. He's a DH. You can find another DH. He's been, again, excellent. I'm not saying trade him. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me if they did take the opportunity. But it also wouldn't surprise me if, like you said, they waited till the end of the year and then did it. But I honestly, if time goes on and it doesn't, if time goes on and he finishes the year with 40 homers and a 300 average, I think he stays. I do. But I could be wrong. Corey Carter says, we had 12 starting pitching candidates on the 40-man and still have 7 of them left. Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of candidates. The problem becomes we don't have a lot of guys that have taken that brass ring, right? You know, we'll see. Machete Moonlight says the trade deadline is pretty far away. A lot of things can change between now and then. Hopefully no more injuries happen and Fried can come back strong. Yeah, it's a long ways away, right? And, you know, that's the thing. Like, that's why I'm not willing to say who I'd go for at the trade deadline, because it is a long ways away. And it's not, again, fair to you to talk about that now. Like, you're going to see these articles like, hey, the Braves are looking at trading for Jorge Soler. Hey, the Braves are looking to trade for Jock Peterson. Those are designed to get you to click them, okay? They're clickbait. I don't really do that here. Not all the time, anyway. But, no, I try my best not to. I want to give you guys actual coverage. I want to make sure this is legitimate, not information, because I am giving my opinion, but not necessarily just, hey, click me because I'm telling you one of your favorites is coming back. I don't think that's fair. I'm not criticizing anybody that does that. I'm just saying that's not the way I do it here. And I think it's a little too early to really be predicting that, because the Giants, like Jock Peterson, for example, the Giants are only 4.5 games out. If they're competing, they're not trading Jock Peterson. No chance. But we'll see. We will see. Thank you for that, Machete Moonlight. Thank you guys again for all tuning in tonight. Tanya says, can A.J. Smith Shawver be a bullpen piece? Yes, we saw him last week be a bullpen piece. I think he definitely can. And to be honest with you, that's how Max Fried started. That's how a lot of your starting pitchers started. And not all these guys, not all of these starters are going to be starters next year. Either they're going to be traded, they're going to be in AAA, or they're going to be in the bullpen. And sometimes that's where you get your start. I don't know if you remember, there was this guy named Spencer Strider who started in the bullpen, who I think could possibly one day pull a Smoltz and go back to the bullpen. Possibly. I think some guys are designed for that. Spencer Strider out of the bullpen would be masterful. I think you may see some shift there. Do I think Strider go to the bullpen next year? No. I'm just saying I don't think all of these starting pitchers are going to be starting pitchers their entire careers. I think you have to adjust to your team's needs. And some of them may be going to the bullpen. A.J. Smith Shawver very well could be one of them. I thought he pitched well tonight, but he's got a long road ahead of him. We'll see where his career takes him. Matthew says, Tyler, in your opinion, how much better is Iglesias going 3 up, 3 down than the Braves had during the Kenley Jansen, Will Smith years? Well, that's not fair. Look, Will Smith, say what you want about the guy. he will forever be the man that was on the mound for the World Series victory, the man that did not give up one run in the postseason. He will forever be that guy. Was there some shaky times? Yes, but he is that guy. Kenley Jansen's a Hall of Famer. You know, his velo's back up. It wasn't really with the Braves. I do think there is more of a, it's over feel with Iglesias, but even Iglesias is going to have the occasional bad day, right? So I don't want you to hold him to a standard that he can't attain. You know, he's been really good. I hope it continues. Matthew also says, Tyler, I agree the Braves should not trade for hitting and probably not starting pitching either. What would you think about trading for Aroldis Chapman and or Liam Hendricks to beef up the bullpen? Liam Hendricks is interesting. Let me look at him first, and then we'll go to Chapman. Chapman's a little bit more of a I wouldn't say risk, but you kind of have to. Let me just look. Let me just look and see. Did I misspell that? I don't believe I did. All right, hang on a second. All right, let's look at Liam Hendricks, shall we? By the way, Liam Hendricks, not ESPN, give me Baseball Reference. Yeah, Baseball Reference, by the way, is the best website, not anyone else. Look, Liam Hendricks has had a great career already. I think we're all aware of that. He's a free agent 2024, which is this coming up season, so that is doable. He's on the White Sox. What you're looking for there is the White Sox to continue to not do well. So going to the American League standings for a second, they're 4 games back. If they were 13.5 games back, I think Liam Hendricks very well may be on the trade block. But right now, not necessarily. He hasn't had that many appearances this year. He does have 13 years in the majors. Yeah, he's only pitched in 4 games, so his ERA is not really fair to him. It's north of 6. Of course, Liam Hendricks is coming off of actually battling cancer. He's actually a really good story. I would love to get him. I'd be happy if we got him. I don't know if we would trade for that, but it's possible. I honestly, though, the only negative I'd say is and this goes for Chapman too, is I really think we need a righty. Or not a righty. I think we really need a lefty. Because if you look at the Braves bullpen right now, the only lefty we have is A.J. Minter. That's why Lucas Lecky was held on to for so long. I mean, you got to get some more lefties. So that's what I would look for. Is Liam Hendricks a possibility? Yeah, sure. I mean, anybody that can get outs we'll take. But you need a lefty. So Liam Hendricks, yeah, but I think you're going to need more than that. Chapman, I don't even know how Chapman's doing because I know he was really going through it at the beginning of the year or end of last year, really. He's with the Royals, so he's – what's he saying? Yeah, he's a free agent. If Chapman's going somewhere, okay, he's not on the Royals to stay on the Royals. He is a piece that gets traded. Oh, yeah, sorry, Chapman is a lefty. I apologize. Sorry. He's on my MLB The Show team. I don't know how I did that. It's late, guys. Chapman could happen. I think he's on a cheap deal. It could happen. He's only on a 1-year, $3.75 million deal. Yeah, it could happen. I would love for it to happen. Yeah, why not? He's not getting anything out of Kansas City. Chapman's a candidate. Yeah, I stand corrected. Chapman is absolutely a candidate. But he's not the only one. Just take that into consideration. Tanya says, can we see Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout come to Atlanta? I don't know. Are the Angels coming to Atlanta this year? With the new schedule, I haven't really looked down. I know we're playing them at least once. I can take a look, but I'm honestly not sure. If someone else has a quicker answer in the chat, go ahead and drop it, but I'll have to look. I can try to find out for you. We're going to the Guardians, going to Diamondbacks. Yeah, they do visit. Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout and the Angels do visit the Braves July 31st through the 2nd. Maybe Shohei will pitch one of those days. So July 31st through August the 2nd. So that's what you can look forward to there, Tanya. Thank you for that comment. Guys, we're going to wrap it up here very shortly. So make sure to get in your questions. We're only going to be here another 5 or 10 minutes maybe. So make sure to get your questions in. But while we're waiting on that, again, thank you guys for your support. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you know everything we're up to here at On Deck, and, of course, everything that the Braves are up to. We try to do these streams at least once a week. Of course, we streamed last night, which means we got to do it twice a week this week. So that is a rarity, but we do try to do these as often as we can. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and thank you guys for staying up late with us. Let's see. Matthew says, oh, geez, here we go. I would love to trade for Ohtani, but only if he signs an extension. No 2-month rental for what Ohtani would cost. That would cost you so much. That would cost you I don't even know if we have the capital for that. I don't, because there's never been a trade like this other than Babe Ruth. There's never really been a trade like this. Because he's a two-way player, he's going to get traded. I believe he's going to get traded. The Angels would be dumb not to trade him. But it's tough because what do you want back? What do you ask for? Yeah, I don't know. It would be bigger than whatever they got for Juan Soto in D.C. a few years ago. We're not going to trade for Ohtani. We're not going to sign Ohtani in free agency. It's not going to happen. I don't think we're going to sign an extension with him. I just don't believe the Braves are going to risk it all on Ohtani. I like Ohtani. I think he's a great player. I just don't think he fits the Braves' method. I would be very surprised if it happened. And because they haven't gone after any big player like that. They don't do that. At least not the past few years. Even when they needed a huge shot in the arm in 2021, they went and got players that a lot of people kind of overlooked. Jorge Soler, Eddie Rosario. The only one I told you I thought we would trade for was Richard Rodriguez. And of course Jock Peterson everybody was looking at too. But they weren't players that were like, oh my gosh, you got who? I mean, Trey Turner, went to the Dodgers a few years ago. For Josiah Gray, of all people, actually. But that was a trade that was like, oh man, they got him, So it just, I don't know that the Braves are going to do it. Tell me the last trade that you're like, oh my gosh, we got that guy. I don't remember one. The trade deadline in 2021 was exciting, but it was because we had 5 or 6 guys, and none of them were, potential future Hall of Famers, right? And I just don't think that's going to be the case. I think Ohtani is either going to wait out till free agency. Teixeira, yeah, that was one. I'll give you that. That's probably the last time. And I was very young at that point. I'll just leave it at that. The Angels should trade Ohtani. I do think he'll be traded. However, he does sell a lot of jerseys. He does fill up the stadium. There is that aspect. But, we'll see. Okay, you guys are naming a few. Justin Upton, I'll go with that. The Upton brothers were a big hit at the time. Obviously, only one of them really worked out. Hudson was a good one. These are again, when I was very, very young. But that's my point. It's it's been a while. This front office doesn't really do that. They kind of do the under the radar stuff. I would just be surprised. When I say surprised, I'd be excited. I would be ready to be on here immediately. But I would just be very, very surprised. Fred McGriff, yeah, all right. We're not going back to the 90s. Everybody calm down. Let's go back to Evan T. It's early, but wouldn't it be better to second seed because we would have a better matchup versus either the Pirates or Brewers? It seems likely the Dodgers could be a wild card matchup. Yeah, it's a little too early for that. I mean, you can tell me that because I know the Phillies went on the tear they went on last year. The advantage is tough to really understand because most players would tell you that no, we want the time off and we want to come back healthy and be able to start who we want to start and that kind of thing. Most managers would tell you the same thing. That's why the Braves go so hard at trying to win the division. They don't just say, okay, we made it to the postseason. Let's just beat the Padres and go from there. So I think winning the division is the way to go. I just do. And I think any manager would tell you the same thing. All right, with that, we are going to wrap it up with that. So thank you guys again for checking out the channel. Remember to like the video on your way out. Really would appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications so that you know when we go live next time. Also, I'm dropping a link in the chat right now. If you click away, I won't be mad at you. That's the link to the Leo Mazzoni Strider conversation that I had with him last year when Strider was really first coming out and potentially going to be a starter. So go check that out. Talk about his velo. Talk about it being down right now. So it's a good video for you to go check out as a Braves fan right now. But with that, again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay updated, and of course, stay rooting for the Braves. I really, again, do appreciate you guys. Also, check out the On Deck shop again. The QR code's over there, link down below. Go check out our friends at FOCO as well. They do a lot to support this channel. Don't want to overlook them. They do have the Spring Essentials line. They have all different kinds of floral shirts, bobbleheads, hats, swim trunks, sleeveless tops, sleeve tops, whatever you're looking for, they got it. They got what you need for spring, and you might find you something to wear at the ballpark, but they also got plenty on their website. You really just want to go check out the Braves collection. You don't want to miss that. Make sure to go check it out. Their link is down below as well. But again, that's going to wrap it up here. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay updated with everything going on here at On Deck. And of course, we'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.